Welcome to Define Play, where I interview fascinating people to find out what play means to them. My name is Michael Mirza, and my guest today is Abe Lopez, a managing partner at Lightword, a tech and creative studio based here in Chicago. Abe is also a mental health advocate for kids with his YouTube channel Gunkle Abe, which teaches social and emotional learning for kids through songs, dance, skits, thoughtful, engaging characters. It's a ton of fun, and it's actually really educational and helpful for kids understanding their emotions as well. Abe is also a model, an actor, and a generally creative mastermind working with some amazing people. We had an amazing conversation about identity, creativity, vulnerability, advocacy for others, and I really hope you enjoy it. So thanks for checking out Define Play. Let's get into the conversation. Are you familiar with the Enneagram?
I am.
What's your Enneagram number?
Great question. For a long time, I thought I was a 3 because of all the things that I do. I think I'm a 7-wing 6.
Okay, cool.
Which is great. A lot of people get those confused too. But I think I've been on Enneagram panels where I was Enneagram 3 and I really identify with that. But of course, we, kind of identify with, you can't identify with a lot of numbers, and the whole goal is to kind of reach different numbers throughout your life. But I'm a 7-wing 6, I think. Which is weird to say.
Why is it weird?
Because at the core, our 7s are disconnected to their heart, and I feel like I'm really connected to my heart. So maybe I'm not. Who knows? Maybe I'm a 3.
Yeah.
But we'll just say 7 today.
Okay. What if I told you I'm also a 7-wing 6?
Are you? Yeah. Oh my God, I love it. Do you feel disconnected to your heart?
Disconnected to my heart.
Because that's what I've heard, that's the core wound,
So I think in the sense that, for anyone who's unfamiliar with the Enneagram, this is a emotional motivation system, would you say?
Yeah, it kind of identifies different parts of how you run.
It's 9 different types that identify what motivates you, what do you tend to avoid, what informs the way you make decisions. Incredible framework that has many different contexts. Anyway, so the 7-wing 6, the 7 prioritizes new experiences and pleasure and enjoyable
and fun
and novelty and fun.
Yeah.
And then the shadow side of the 7 is sometimes avoiding negative emotions. So to your point, do I feel disconnected from my heart? I think I credit my wife, who is a 1 and who is really
cool,
really emotionally intelligent and in tune with putting language to her emotions. I think she has helped me a lot in understanding that we're not trying to just rush through the negative feelings, and we're trying to just be in them. But to bring this full circle to what you said about I get tired with the deep conversation. Yeah. I feel that. I love to go deep. And this show is ironically a very serious show about play. Yeah. But we have to still play. We have to have the joy and the fun 100%. In there. But they go hand in hand because just play that is, I don't want to say shallow, but without the depth, the play doesn't have as much reward.
The play kind of runs out. Yeah. It's not sustainable, because then it maybe starts to get empty.
Yeah, and it I'm really aware of when I feel that I'm just trying to numb and distract from a feeling. I'm thankful that when I get to that point where I'm just trying to self-medicate or just cope right now, totally. I don't even enjoy what I'm doing. Totally. When I'm so aware of it, I'm like, ugh, okay, I just have to just sit in this.
Yeah.
But the only way through is through.
And I think sometimes listen, this might be controversial, but I think sometimes numbing out actually is really beneficial. Of course, it's not a sustainable coping tool, but I feel there are moments where I'm I have no capacity to do anything other than numb. And whether that's for a short time or a long time, I feel I always return back to self. And sometimes I've been in therapy for many years because different things.
Therapy's the best.
But I feel totally. I feel I've given myself grace to numb out a bit.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. And I think a certain degree of play is, the power of play is in the escapism.
Yeah.
To fully immerse yourself in anything is absolutely a beautiful and healing thing.
Totally.
So it's just all in balance with the realities of life at the same time. But yes, 100%. Like, you've earned it. Numb out sometimes.
100%.
And veg out. And
I think for a long time, I was always like wanting to, and this is why I thought I was a 3 for a long time, because I was like, kind of the perfectionism, like really high achieving. I really want to do all these amazing things, and I have done a lot of cool things, and I didn't allow myself to like play and have fun. So I feel like I've kind of earned like numbing out a bit. Not that sounds bad, but it's like I've earned like rest, and I feel like sometimes like, I don't know, sometimes numbing can feel fun. Yeah. I don't know. It's really controversial. I think it's a step towards being healthy.
Sure.
It's not like the end destination. It's like a step towards relief, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
You know?
We could talk about the Enneagram all day, and I think at some point in the show we'll do a deep dive on the Enneagram. But one of the reasons that you have earned rest is you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot of amazing things. I'm really excited to talk to you about your YouTube channel, Recess with Gunkle Abe. Before we talk about being Gunkle Abe as a show, I know that you are also a Gunkle uncle in real life.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about what that means to you and how that informs your persona on screen?
Yeah. I think I remember when my brother first told me that he was having a kid. You know, me and my brother are best friends, and I was like, wow, this is like, and we're entering into new life, a new chapter of life, right, together. And we, you know, roomed together in college, and we spent a lot of time together growing up. And I think when my niece was born 7 years ago, I was like, oh, wow, this is like, just grateful that we get to see this part of our life together, you know. Nothing's ever guaranteed, you know, health or life or families, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's meant a lot for me to kind of enter into this part of my life with my brother as kind of a support to him, because, and his wife and the family, because, I really love our relationship, and I love that our relationship like empowers me to be more of who I am, all the support and love that he's given me. So we have 3 nieces and nephews on my side, and then a couple on Isaac, my husband's side. It's been really fun. I love, we don't want kids, so it's really nice to, you know, be able to like hang out and play and then give them back.
It's a lot of sweet spot.
A lot of aunts and uncles say that, especially folks who don't want kids. But it's been really cool to like take them on trips, and when I'm abroad, like thinking about them and you know, buying them little souvenirs from different places that we travel. But what I really love is the expansive love that I get to experience. You know, like they're part of my life now, and they're part of me now. I feel like, you know, I can't wait till. I mean, I love, like, you know, we drove down a couple weeks ago because my niece's last day of 2nd grade was a couple weeks ago, and we just like took her to ice cream, and, you know, just her, me and Isaac and our nephew. And it's really like given me perspective about my life and like what I want to share and pass on to them. You know what I mean? And it's just really fun. I love tiaras. I love like royalty. So every time I'm in Europe, I buy my niece a little tiara, so she has a little collection.
Gunkle Abe is an awesome combination of emotional intelligence, but you also are having dance parties and you're having people, there's all these cool characters that show up, and you're cooking, and such a cool, well-rounded thing. How much are you keeping your specific niece and your nieces and nephews in mind when you create your show?
Totally. They're kind of like my test guinea pigs, you know? Like, my brother actually edits part of the show, so he shows my nieces and nephews and he gives feedback. And my niece is in a lot of episodes, actually. So when we started, I was like, I want my niece in it. Like, this was inspired because I'm a real life gunkle, right? And she's kind of like a little bit of a mini me. She loves performing. It was really cool. Last year, we recorded our first couple seasons in LA at this really cool studio in Burbank. And when she arrived, like the first day, there were so many lights and cameras and people behind the camera. And so when she was like on a little Apple box, she was like really scared and but she was really excited. She actually cried the first time because she actually had to read teleprompters like to perform. Wow. And because that's how we run the show. But by the end of it, she like the last day of the first time she was on set, she cried. She's like, I like this better than Disney World, because she got to do her hair a couple times, different outfits. She felt like a real princess that, you know, and it's really cool to be able to show that to her, but she loves being on it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I forget how you said it earlier. You said something earlier about what did you say? Leaving them something or creating?
Passing on, like, what do I want to pass on to them, you know? And when they think of uncles, they think of like high rise in a city and trips and fun, and like, that's how I like to live my life. So I'm really excited that they're like, when they think of us, they think of like adventure and fun,
cool,
and also safety and like love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they love hanging out with us, and they're young, you know?
And every episode you release, everything that you put out into the world is this cool time capsule that they can watch, and even many years from now that they can come back and revisit and be like, I remember this moment, this time.
I remember being in my church play in second grade, and actually Ella, my niece, she's in the show. She just got done with her second grade year. And I vividly remember like being in my church play and looking up to like, you know, the older high schoolers or middle schoolers, and like the fact that I'm 35 and remember that, I know she's gonna remember getting on a plane and going to LA and all these lights, and Lisa Marie, the hair and makeup girl, like she still talks about her, you know? So it's really cool to be able to gift her that, you know what I mean? And when I have two other nephews on my side. When they're older, I want them to be on the show. And my nieces and nephews on Isaac's side, I've openly invited them to be on my show, which is great. It's like a family affair.
Yeah, and she got to feel like a star that day.
Truly, yeah.
And then even when she's not on, you are creating things for her to consume, and you know, someday when we're not around, that our kids, nieces, nephews have these awesome documents of us. And us putting ourselves out into the world. I think like with this show, for me, if nobody else watches it, at least my kids will have something to watch where they can remember what my voice sounded like someday.
That's so true. I didn't even think about that.
So I don't know, not to put too much weight on
it.
No,
that's really exciting. I mean, how many videos do we watch from like the 90s that were like, wow, I still watch Spice Girls videos.
Yeah.
And like, but it's a time capsule, and it's cool like even to see Ella perform last year and this year, like even her performance, I'm like, wow, you're growing up, you know? It's like so cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your creative process and how you decide, how do you shape the average episode of Gungle Abe?
It's a great question. And that, I think the answer will change every week.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think a lot of, as you know, a lot of creative projects, they take different shape over time, right? So how you start is not how you're going to end. I promise you, your podcast will be different, or you learn as you go, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The first episode, like we were in a janky studio in LA, like not the best sound, like you just learn so much. So the creative process has really been, it started with an idea at our team retreat a couple falls ago, and we were in a hot tub hanging out with our team, and we were talking about different projects. I'm a plus size model commercial actor on the side, and I was like really wanting to practice honing in my skills of performing, because I'm, you know, for auditions and camera, you kind of have to like, when the camera rolls, you have to be on. And I don't have any like, what's the word? I don't have a lot of class. I'm not classically trained in acting, right? I did community theater growing up, and I'm an outgoing person and I like performing. So it started with kind of us thinking about what's the age range we want to target. Who are some of our inspirational shows that we want to model after? Not model after, because this was a unique approach about mental health and social emotional learning. What kind of talent do we have in house? We have a team of 12. So actually our animated characters are voiceover by our team inside our company. So a couple people on the tech side of our business are actually voiceovering our animated characters, which is a cool collaboration, because we're not one dimensional, right? So the people on the tech side are very creative, and they're making their own music and they're making their own video games. And I was like, do you want to join us? And they were like, absolutely. So over the course of the last year and a half, we've had so many conversations around like, who's our demographic? What, you know, our team is really smart and we're really emotionally intelligent. And sometimes we learned that in the first kind of year, we talked a little bit too much for a 7-year-old about social emotional learning, right? Like 4 to 7 or 3 to 7-year-olds like don't have a huge attention span. So how do we like hone in our message with like keeping kids engaged? And in the world of like kids media, it's kind of the Wild West. You kind of have to test and test and test until something lands, right? So I am the first to say that we are nowhere. We've done amazing things, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But that's okay because we're continuing to iterate and learn every week. And the heart of it is how do we empower families to talk about emotions and to kind of help kids and families feel safe around that subject.
When I showed it to my kids, I was like, oh, this is cool because I feel really good about what you're sharing.
Totally.
And there's, YouTube is, like you said, the Wild West.
Totally.
So yes, you're doing good work.
Thank you. Yeah, and we got invited to Sesame Street in the fall, and they were really encouraging about what we're creating. I think that's where the Enneagram 3 comes in because I'm like, what's the next? How can I like make it better? I'm really proud of the team. We're learning so much. You see the final product of something, but there's so much conversation, decisions, like hours that go into like how to make this the best. And even if you deliver something, it could be a total flop. So there's a lot of vulnerability that goes into like putting so much time and effort into something that literally could be not received well. And that's okay. I'm not here to like have it be perfect. I want Guncle Abe to be a mainstay and a staple in families' homes for a long time. And when you think of Mr. Rogers, when you think of Miss Rachel, when you think of all these different performers who have been out here doing the things for a long time, like they didn't start at number 1. They didn't start at top 5. They started like with a project and they iterated over time. So that's kind of where my brain's at, But it's, I've really been intentional about like keeping the heart of fun in it because I feel like I can be analytical and I'm running a business, right? Like me and my husband run a business, so I want to make sure that our resources are invested wisely. And we have made different decisions to make sure that we can be sustainable. So we moved our production from LA to Chicago because I want to be doing this for a long time because it is so fun. Like when I put on my Guncle Abe costume, like game's on, you know what I mean? I can just like tap into that energy. And I want to be able, and my team loves it, so I want to be able to do it for a long time. But you learn so much. And that's why I'm like, it's been so amazing and it's awesome, and I'm so excited like what is ahead because I love learning,
I love the shout outs to Mr. Rogers and Miss Rachel because both of them are excellent at not just creating engaging content, but they have such a care for children that comes through. Mr. Rogers being one the pioneer of this, who, all he saw on TV at the time was like people getting pied in the face. And like, it's like, okay, cool. You can get a cheap laugh out of that.
Yeah.
But he helped, pioneer inclusivity and, integrated race relations and
hard conversations.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And now Miss Rachel, shout out to Miss Rachel, is using her platform to advocate for children in Palestine and Gaza, and she's getting a lot of heat for it. But her true care for
humanity,
and humanity and the children is so evident, and I see that in you as well, and that you're prioritizing emotional care. I'm curious if you'd be willing to share. What does it mean specifically to be Guncle, not uncle, and as a champion of emotional health? Can you talk about that?
My journey to being confident in my own identity as a gay man has a lot to do with proudly displaying Guncle. I think growing up, I didn't even think I would be able to be married to a man or to love how I want to love. And I think it's really important for me as a Guncle to show all of who I am, right? To my nieces and nephews. They see me and my husband, who have lovingly been together for over a decade, love on them. And I think it's a really important celebration of who we are. And I think like right now in our society, I think it's really important to celebrate who you are and all the different facets of that. So I think being a Guncle is like really, it's a celebration and a kind of a full circle. I remember when I couldn't even say that I was gay.
Yeah.
Right? When I came out of the closet, I literally said I'm into dudes because I couldn't say that. And there are a lot of people who go through different ways of coming out, but a lot of people experience that same internalized homophobia or internalized fear around who they are, right? So I feel like it's really like a staple of celebration of like, I'm a gunkle, like I'm a gay uncle, and I'm proud of that. And that's just like, that's the start of something. It's not the entirety of it, right? Because you look at the show, it's not about how many times do I talk about being gay. That's not the point.
Right.
And being showing up fully in who I am is where the magic begins.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if we can't show up fully with who we are, then we close ourselves off to so much magic that we can experience in our life, you know?
I love that. And you know, the authenticity of you showing up fully also makes it adds to the depth of what you're creating.
Yeah.
Because it is demonstrating to kids that who they are and whoever they become is also, you know, beautiful. And
It's celebrated. We end every show off with this affirmation: you are loved, you are beautiful, and you belong, right? You are beautiful as you are, you are loved as you are, and you belong here. We all belong here, you know?
I love that. It's so powerful.
And I'm also doing it to celebrate like how many people have come before me to like fight to show up and be in the room, right? I have had a lot of opportunities to be invited into rooms and to the table, right? And I want to take that responsibility really seriously. And by me showing up as Gunkle Abe, if another queer person around the world, I mean, literally like so many countries, like this show gets shown on so many countries because it's on YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
It's a wide dispersed show. If there's a couple people that, you know, are encouraged to show up or inspired to show up as who they are, like that's what I'm excited about, you know? So I want to open the doors for other people who I don't even know, you know? It gets me excited.
That's cool. What a great way to use your network, your privilege, your platform to demonstrate safety.
I'm a gay Latino plus size model. Like there's like a lot of like there's a lot of things that like you don't see a lot of, right? So I take that responsibility really seriously, you know? It's fun. It's so fun. Like, thank you, universe, for like giving me all these opportunities to like have power, because I feel like I do really good things with it. And with Gunkle Abe, like I want to use this platform to empower other people and empower myself, like, you know, to live a beautiful life.
And not only are you showing kids like, cool, I have this amazing, you know, you said 10 years you've been married? 11 years.
Yeah.
But you're not just married and life partners, you're also business partners.
We are,
and so you're building successful things beyond Gunkle Abe as well.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about some of the other things you're working on that you're excited about?
Yeah, we own a company called Lightword, and it's a tech and media company. So Isaac started an app on Shopify back in 2009. So back then, Shopify was really small, and he built one of the first 100 apps on the ecosystem.
Wow.
So that was when Toby and Harley were just like really starting off. And and since then, when I came into the picture in 2014, that app was still small. You know, we were both working in at tech companies in Silicon Valley. And there came a point where he was like, Isaac, my husband, he was like, hey, I want to go independent. The app is doing really well. And I was like, you are literally leaving Apple corporate to like start this. Like, we're both Midwestern boys. Like, we didn't grow up with much. Like, what are you doing? Like, you literally you're a senior engineer at Apple at 24. Like, this is crazy. Like, no, don't do it. I was like really scared. And he's like, okay. So he waited. He was very patient. And he was like, we got to do it. And I was like, okay, we can trust fall in this direction. But it was really scary for me because that was the pinnacle of like what I deemed to be successful back in the day, you know? And success means different things to everybody. But I joined the company then. I started a photography company back in 2015. I did weddings for 5 years. So we kind of like joined forces. And then he built a second app in 2018 on Shopify. It's called Mechanic. So we kind of merged our kind of creative and technical endeavors together under the umbrella Lightword. Back then it used to be called the Fort Co., which is like the fort, like a fort.
Fort Co.
Which is a horrible business name, but Because when we met, we were in Silicon Valley, and it was like really hard for us. We were two Midwestern boys, like super like conservative Christian at the time, like just really like thrown into money and status and all these things, and it was really hard for us. So we called our apartment the Fort, a place that we felt safe. That's where our businesses kind of like took off from. So every place that we've lived, we've called the Fort, actually. So then we started a business called the Fort Co., which we ended up moving to Denver, which wasn't good for SEO because Fort Collins, Colorado, people call it Fort Co.
Right.
And there was also a very famous restaurant called The Fort in Fort Collins. Just bad. So we changed it to Lightword in 2018 or something. And then in 2020, kind of Shopify blew up. Everyone went online to start businesses. And we were at a really perfect position with our apps, and our Shopify kind of skyrocketed, and we kind of skyrocketed with them. Cool. So that's where we added more things to our portfolio. Isaac and I are really passionate about doing like the next right thing for ourselves, right? And sometimes that means photography companies, sometimes that means podcasts. We've had a podcast. Sometimes that means a magazine that we created for a year. Sometimes it means Gunkle Abe. We're just trying to move towards our light and invite people to join us. So that's kind of been the story of our kind of journey so far, And over the years, it's like, what are we doing next? Who knows? And sometimes we wait. We've actually been in little gap times where like we don't have a project, but we keep our staff because we want to keep them as long as we can. So we're always trying to find what wants to happen next. And right now, that looks like 2 big apps on Shopify. One, emotionally intelligent AI. Isaac's a genius. He has a really powerful AI that he made. A lot of people are using it for marriage help. It has saved people's lives. Wow. We've gotten messages of like, your AI literally saved my brother's life. He was going to commit suicide.
No way.
Like it's really powerful. It's helped us in our marriage. I usually don't cry, but like Lightword has made me cry. It's kind of wild. So that's a project, and then Gunkle Abe. That's a big production we're doing. So it's kind of like a creative studio where we just kind of throw paint at the wall and see what sticks. But over the years, it's been, what does our heart and mind want to do next? And we've been really fortunate to be intentional about every step, so that way we can do this for a long time. Because who knows in 10 years what it'll be, It might be a coffee shop, it might be a hotel, who knows? Yeah.
There's so many people, myself included at many times, where I'm like, I have ideas, but the thought of how does that become a reality can be a start-stop thing that stops you in your tracks. And hard to know, like, okay, yes, I know this idea could benefit people if I had the right capital or if I had the right people. But I don't know how to get there, so I'm not going to pursue it.
Yeah.
And you have taken steps to figure that out and move forward. Are there other places where you have taken an idea and not been sure how it's going to become to reality?
Absolutely.
How does that play out for you?
The like mosaic of living is like really powerful. Like there's so many different colors and shapes. And I think I've just inherently always have felt that. I've been really excited to like experience things. And that's where I think the 7 comes in. I want to like experience it, and not just experience it on a superficial level. I want it to change me. I want it to like shape me. So I'm really intentional about like what I move towards, That's why Lightword is our company name. Like we move towards the light. I remember after college, I was dating this guy in Colorado, and I was miserable in my job, and I was friends with my university president because I was on a couple committees with him, and I called him crying in my office, like literally crying. I was like, dude, like I had an amazing college experience. Like, what am I doing? Like, am I gonna be stuck in this forever? Like, I was just like bawling. And he was like, dude, like, essentially, you're where you need to be, and also like you have the power to like do what you want, and that might be scary, but you're young, and like this is the time to take that risk. So I was like, I'm miserable. I'm dating this guy in Colorado. I'm in Illinois. I'm gonna move to Colorado. I'm like, and back then, like not a lot of people from my area moved, right? We didn't have Instagram. Like I think travel got really big in the last decade with like social media, right? So I literally like called up a friend, and I was like, hey, can you hook me up at your restaurant? Can I get a serving job? Can I just go out to Colorado? And she was like, yeah. So I got a job, and I knew no one there. I knew like 2 people in Colorado, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go because I need to pursue love. I felt like a really like young, dumb move, but I was gonna do it. And I had never been out west before. I was just like, I need to be by this person. And I packed up literally my Hyundai Elantra. My dad and my brother came with me, so I didn't have a lot of stuff in it. And I literally slept on my ex-boyfriend's best friend's grandma's old, like 20-year-old bed because I had no money. I literally had no money. Like, it was crazy. And that changed my life. And I I had to follow what I was called to follow, you know? And it was love. It was dumb love at the time, but it really like, that's my MO. Like, I have to follow what's true for me, even if I don't know how I'm gonna land, because I can trust how I'm gonna land.
That's powerful.
You know?
To step out and risk like that and just know what is most important to me right now is love. And I'm gonna prioritize that even at the sacrifice of other things.
100%. Cool. I mean, that year was tough. I mean, there were times where I was like, do I buy gas or do I eat? And it's like, let's do half. Let's buy some chicken and spinach and let's fill up the tank halfway, you know?
Wow.
But it's okay because I feel like that's kind of my MO. I always I have to follow what is true for me in order to like build the life that I'm excited about. And that's been a real challenge because I feel like we're inundated with so many messages. It's like, what is mine to pursue, you know? With social media, with everything going on in the world, it's like takes a lot of work to like kind of quiet everything else and ask like, what is mine to pursue? And a lot of that has to do with like being in real conversation with self, right? And also real conversation with the dark parts of ourself, right? The fears, the insecurities, man, like they're loud sometimes, you know? And you kind of have to like sit with them and be like, okay, you're not gonna drive. You can be in the car, but I'm gonna drive. And that's a work, you know, especially with putting yourself out vulnerably. Like I literally like lead a team of 12 people and they've seen me cry. They've seen me like mad. They've seen me like be human. And I think that takes a lot of like courage to do that. And also that's why we're so close, is because they see my humanity and I also see theirs too. And because I want to be building stuff for the rest of my life. And that's just part of the process. If anyone says it's like easy or, you know, you have your shit together all the time, they're lying.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And that seems like a good segue to talk about, if you're open to it, to talk a little bit about mental health.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have in common the ADHD and figuring out how to use that as a superpower instead of a disability. Can you talk about how, I mean, I really think it's powerful how you are pretty transparent, like you said, about the dark sides and the light sides coming together. What has been your journey with mental health as it has informed your professional and personal journey?
Yeah, I've always known I've been a little different, you know, growing up, kind of overly sensitive, overly emotional, not overly, highly sensitive, highly emotional.
I like that correction.
Yeah, and really aware of everything going on around me, right? Which can be overwhelming as a kid. My dad has OCD. I have ADHD and OCD. So I've always seen my dad really take care of his mental health. Actually, I just learned a couple of years ago that he actually went to therapy in the 80s, which is like very uncommon for like a Mexican straight man to go to,
Totally.
You know what I mean? So him and my mom raised me and my brother in a really emotionally safe house. So as much as I kind of struggled, like had a lot of energy, and they always really celebrated who I was. And I always felt very safe in my nuclear family. In middle school, I kind of got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. That was also in the early 2000s when, you know, therapy was kind of shunned upon and medication was shunned upon too. And then in college, I kind of came into my own, and I think like college really stimulated me enough to help me be kind of like healthy over time. But I actually was late diagnosed ADHD when I was 32 years old, which is kind of crazy to think about. So for my whole life, I thought I had anxiety and depression, which I struggle with those things, but that's not what I identify with. It's, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? So I got diagnosed with ADHD and OCD 3 years ago because I was doing all these things and I was like, why is this so hard? You know, like why? It's just really hard to like be functioning as a human, you know? And it wasn't a sad thing. It was more of like I was carrying the weight of the world on me a lot, which made me just tired and overwhelmed a lot, while simultaneously being a very high functioning, very successful doer, right? And I think it came to the point where I was like, I just like don't, I think there's something going on. I don't know what's going on, but I really want to see what's happening. So I went to an ADHD specialized therapist. She couldn't diagnose me, but after the first conversation, she was like, I would bet on my career that you have it. We can't say that for sure, but I'm specialized in this. Like, you should go get checked out. And of course, the psychiatrist, she also said the same thing. She was like, well, I'm not gonna diagnose you this round. I gotta get to know you at the end of the first. She's like, all right, next time we're gonna talk about medication.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a journey, man. It's been a journey of like accepting the parts of myself that are the way they are. It's been learning tools on how to navigate and work with how I am. And it's been a lot of grace to be okay with who I am.
Yeah.
You know? Being a high functioning person with ADHD and OCD, unmedicated, I'm not medicated, is pretty hard.
Yeah.
That is why I'm so deliberate and intentional about how I live my life, who I surround myself with, what I do. And I think innately, I've always, internally and subconsciously, I've always known that. I've always wanted to be around people who like made me feel safe. I've always wanted to be around people who I felt inspired by and encouraged by. I didn't know that was the reason why, but I think it's been really clear over the last couple of years about learning about my ADHD that approaching my life that way like really saved me in a lot of ways, which I'm really grateful for. My therapist she was like, in the beginning, she was like, you have a very well-trained frontal cortex. Like, great job. Like, how did you do it? And I'm like, I just wanted to feel okay, you know, and I wanted to feel good. And then I searched around and I was like, what can I do and who can I be around and how can I be okay? So I just moved towards that. And that's like, it's all connected, right? That's what we do in our business. That's what we do with the show. Yeah, but it's been a really like interesting journey of like acceptance, integration, and then like empowerment, you know? Like I'm really excited about like this kind of integration and empowerment season that I'm in, because it's like, if I can like identify the different chess pieces and understand what they do, like what can I do with them, you know, and how can I be strategic about them, you know? And that's where I'm at right now. It's like, now that I know all these different facets about myself, like how can I like maximize the crap out of them, you know? Like, which is exciting.
Yeah, that speaks to me so much. And I mean, I love the metaphor of the chess piece, because ADHD is this sometimes nebulous thing that when you approach it almost more like play, and you're thinking, okay, here's the pieces, here's the game board, and here's where I am, and I'm the player. And play can almost become a mindset of, I've got these factors, my brain is this way, I can, you know, this is the brain I was born with. But what I hear in what you're saying is almost a taking control, yet still playing the game. You're not throwing out the game.
No.
But you are saying, okay, we're gonna play.
Let's go.
This is the game, this is the rules. These are the parts I can control, these are the parts I can't.
And then we're also not confined to the chess pieces. Like what's the environment around it? Am I like sipping a pina colada on a beach, like playing this? Like that's gonna impact how I play it. You know what I mean? There's so many different factors, but it makes it a really cool like experiment. You know, I've been using the language a lot about like, what can I try on, right? I don't need to keep that mentality or identity forever. It's like, how can I be flexible with like how I approach myself in life? And if I don't like it, I can just like set it down and move on. You know, I think for a long time, because my OCD wanted to be really rigid about like, this is how it is, you know, and it really like put me in some interesting predicaments mentally that I needed to be like aware of to get out of, right? And to be aware of it took a lot of work, because when you're in it, it's really hard to experience. So I feel like it's a practice of becoming aware and then like moving the pieces, but trying on like, can I try on this whole year, the Eat, Play, Love year, can I try on this posture of more play or of like being like, I feel like my life feels like Play-Doh right now a bit. I'm 35 and a lot of people get really rigid as they get older, but I want to be more like Play-Doh. Like, how can I play, you know? How can I like expand and mold myself into different ways? But the beautiful thing about it is I don't need to stay there if I don't like it.
True.
Which is exciting. You know what I mean? Like, we're never done learning. I feel like the most interesting people that I've met, there was this lady who's in a small group actually that I was in. She was like a nun for 20 years. She was like head of like English department at really prestigious university. And she came at like 73 years old to our small group. And she was like, the reason why I'm here is because I don't know who God is, but I want to know. And if I don't find him or her or it, I'm going to be okay with that. But I'm like, I don't know a lot. You know what I mean? And she knows a lot, but she's like so fluid and dynamic in how she approaches her life. I was like, you're a badass. I want to be like you because I don't want to be rigid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The never-ending pursuit of learning and curiosity go hand in hand. And maybe she comes to a conclusion of who God is, and maybe she doesn't.
That's okay.
But it sounds like for her, it's more just, I'm going to seek it out.
Exactly.
I'm going to be intentional about
it. And I'm
it.
okay with it.
But
I don't
also,
need to know.
Yeah.
I want to be like, I'm excited to meet Abe at 50. Oh my God, no. Let's say 40. Okay. I'm excited to meet Abe at 40.
That's 5 years from now. That's tangible.
God, I need more Botox.
Sorry, maybe that was a little triggering.
No, that's fine. But yeah, I'm excited because honestly, like the Abe today is like so different than who he was 10 years ago. I'm not as scared anymore. I'm not as like, well, you just experience a lot, right? But I still feel I'm a baby still. Like we're babies. Like I think like when I look at like my dad, he's almost 70. I'm like, you've lived like almost a whole other life, That's exciting. Like than I have,
Yeah.
And if we're fortunate enough to be able to experience all of it, what a ride, Like I'm excited about it.
At each age, we do the best with what we have.
Totally.
So
totally.
The 50-year-old Abe will be wiser than 35-year-old Abe, sure. And 35-year-old Abe is wiser than you were at 20.
Yeah.
And, wisdom is not, I don't say that to say like you are necessarily automatically gaining wisdom, but you do the best with what you have. So,
totally. Totally.
Hopefully it's growth.
I think I've also given myself permission to like not get it right and like to be like messy. I think because for a long time, like I wanted to like, when you're kind of, I've always been like an overachiever, and that's kind of has come with like some rigidity in my approach, right? So right now in this like Eat, Play, Love year that I'm in, I'm kind of allowing myself to be a little bit of a hot mess, which is like kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because it's so different. I like, dude, first like to build a business, do all these things, like it takes a lot of focus, and especially with ADHD, like that's like 10 times harder for us.
Yeah.
So it's like I needed to be focused. And granted, like if you look at my closet right now, it's like crazy. But I'm like okay with that right now, like it's not gonna be forever, it's kind of fun to be a hot mess. Like I'm a sober hot mess, like that's kind of fun.
But as it becomes increasingly easy to curate perfection with AI and to have flawless things.
Totally.
I actually think the hot messes of the world and the authenticity and the imperfections is going to be far more interesting. And that's going to be the kind of things that I want to do.
Interesting.
And I think like, that's why, even in this show, every episode I have things where I'm like, when we're editing, I'm like, I wish I had said that a little different. I stuttered my words a little bit, whatever. Yeah. But I'm just like, we're going to ship it. Like, because we can't go back. And also, this is real.
It's more relatable.
Yeah. And like, so.
And honestly, the people who have done like the most epic things are hot messes.
Yes.
If you think about some of the greats, tell me who hasn't been a hot mess.
No, absolutely. And for some, the hot messness overtakes them. And
fair.
But the hot messness of a really healthy, honed creative can be the true spark of brilliance.
100%. And I feel like the hot mess for me, I was thinking about this actually a couple minutes ago. Like, because I feel safe, I can be a hot mess.
Cool.
Because I feel safe, I can stumble. And what I'm trying to do in my life is like always tend to and cultivate safety mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, so that I can mess up. You know, when you're in a gym, like my trainer, like I feel so safe around him that I don't need to get every movement right because I want to fall flat on my face to like learn. That's kind of the hot mess that I'm talking about. Like I want to be sloppy. Think about kids when they first walk. Like you learn how to walk, you're sloppy. You look like I call my like little nephew a drunk toddler because he's like, like just walking everywhere. But like that's kind of my posture that I want to take in life. Like I want to feel safe enough to feel sloppy enough to come home to myself again, if that makes sense.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. In Rick Rubin's book, which I reference often, his book, the Creative Act, A Way of Being, or I'm probably misremembering it. Regardless, he talks about how when children play, they aren't thinking about doing it right.
Yes.
That the older you get, the more you become aware of
Why
the
do you think
perception.
that is?
I think it's because you become increasingly aware of others' perceptions of you.
Yeah.
And you form your sense of identity based on what other people are telling you about yourself.
Yeah.
And then there's the work of eventually saying, well, who do I tell myself that I am instead of who are other people telling me? But as kids, a kid learning to play or doing make-believe or making something, making art, whacking a stick against a tree, like you name it, they're not thinking about like, am I doing this right? They're just doing. And they're just following their instincts. And I think it is such a gift, and I want to preserve it in my children as long as I can, this sense of like, don't think about how you're being perceived when you play, just play. Let it flow out of you, let the freedom come. And then we have this adolescence and adulthood where we have to prove ourselves and exist in this society and earn a paycheck and do all these other things. And then only now, I'm 37, so I'm just a few years older than you, and I'm just like, only now are we starting to think about like, okay, well, how do I get back to that?
Yes.
How do I get back to that freedom?
I was literally just thinking that because I was thinking like, I look up to Isaac a lot in how his brain works. He's like incredibly intelligent. He's autistic, so he thinks about the world differently. But he's such a good engineer. Like he's like perfected his engineer. So much that like, okay, so you like build up to like be good at something and then you're good at something. Then like a lot of people after they're really good at something, they like just like throw paint at the wall and just like fuck shit up. Basically.
You've got the stable ground where you've like kind of earned the right to play.
And I think like what's really cool is like I think there's beauty in like being good at your craft and being good at what you do. But when you look at a lot of artists or a lot of creatives or a lot of like, honestly, like entrepreneurs, like they're really good at what they do. So that like, they don't have to think about that. They spend their energy and play into like messing stuff up and seeing what wants to happen, you know, which is really like encouraging for me because I feel like, I think that you don't have to like perfect something in order to get to mess things up or like try new things. I think like the challenge for me is to be like, hey, you are worthy right now to pursue and try things that like you want to try. You don't have to be perfect at something before you go before you give yourself permission to expand, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
You know what I mean?
Yes, very much.
It's really fun.
So let's put all the pieces together now.
Okay.
We've talked about experimentation, vulnerability, identity, creativity, so many good things.
Yeah.
Like, can you put it all together? What does play mean to you, Abe? What is your definition of play?
I'm gonna think. Because my brain wants to say something fast. Hold on. I think metaphorically, play is the invitation to dance. To use what is yours in all of its amazing imperfections and like really flow. I'm getting visuals of like playing is movement, is the act of a flow, you know? And I think it's the invitation that we have as humans to get up and dance.
Love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Dance.
get up and dance. And dancing is fun, which is great, but like there's power in dance. There's expression in dance. There's health benefits. There's so much good. And I think when we play, all those things kind of come back to us, and we kind of ignite this part of our actual brain and body that can be really powerful to being alive.
I love that definition.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Like, let's fucking dance.
Let's dance.
Let's do it. It's so fun. And yeah, and I mean, how many nights do you remember with your friends dancing? So many, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and this is actually, ironically, something that I'm adding into my life more now in my late 30s.
is dance?
I went to my first nightclub 2 years ago.
Let's go.
And like never did any of that.
Same.
And
I didn't go much either. I've been going more, and I'm like, I just like being out moving, you know?
Yeah, to get lost in the music. I've really fallen in love with like house music and
love it.
The communal experience of any live music experience where you're like, wow, all these people in the room get it.
Yes.
I don't have to try and like pitch this to anybody.
100%.
They're all sold already.
And they're in flow.
And they're not, of course, like people think a lot about like, well, what am I gonna wear when we go out dancing? And that's fine. But the beauty of it is when you just lose all of that and you're just in the room and you're not paying attention to anything else and not even worrying about, do I look good dancing? Nope. You're just like going with the flow.
I think like play is like one of the funnest, is funnest a word? I think play is one of the most fun bridges to being alive, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
It truly unlocks, I think, what makes some of the richest parts of being human. And
what are we here if we're not playing, you know?
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Exactly.
We're pretty primal. Primal beings love to play.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, think about animals. They're just like, or think about, nature. Nature is very playful, you know?
Absolutely. See it everywhere. And,
Yeah.
And I see it so much in you. So
thanks, man.
Thank you, Abe, for your time.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing vulnerably and inspiring me to get out and play and go dance. And
let's go.
maybe we should go dancing sometime.
Yeah, let's go.
That would be so fun.
Thanks,
All right.
Michael.
Thanks, Abe. Thank you.
Thanks for watching or listening on podcast. I'm feeling inspired, energized, and since we were talking about it, definitely feeling like dancing. Speaking of dancing, you can find a playlist of songs that Abe put together that make him feel playful that I think you're really gonna enjoy. You can find that and more information about Abe on our website, defineplay.com. If you enjoyed this conversation, please send it to somebody else who you think might enjoy it too. If you're not already subscribed, it really helps us out a lot if you subscribe and help us reach more people with these conversations. Thanks again for checking this out, and this has been Define Play, and I'm Michael. We'll hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.